Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. Today we're going to try to, we're going to dive deep into a very complicated custody case.
One of the things that really struck me right away is...
Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. Today we're going to try to, we're going to dive deep into a very complicated custody case, Bethany Gould's story. And, our listeners have sent over a bunch of articles and different research, so we have a lot to cover.
Yeah, we do.
But I guess let's just get started with what we have.
Well, I think one of the things that really struck me right away is just the emotional weight of this story.
Yeah.
It's we're talking about a mother separated from her child,
right.
Accusations of abduction, and this, really unsettling possibility that the system that's designed to protect families is being manipulated against them.
Yeah, and that powerlessness really comes through. I mean, in Bethany's account, she talks about how she just wanted to do something very simple.
Right.
In 2019, she decided to pursue child support from Brielle's biological father, Travis Moss.
Okay.
Just to ensure financial stability for her daughter. And she even mentions her willingness to co-parent and facilitate positive interactions between Brielle and Travis.
And that's, what makes everything that happened after that just seem so much more jarring.
Yeah.
Because according to Travis, after a period of what seemed like amicable interaction, filed for custody of Brielle in Virginia.
Right.
But Bethany and the children were living in Alabama.
Right, so it's a jurisdictional.
It's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
And it immediately begs the question, was this a genuine attempt at co-parenting, or was this some sort of calculated move to exploit these legal loopholes?
Yeah, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, really. If what Bethany's saying is true, it paints a very disturbing picture. She talks about a false protection order that was filed against her, delaying Brielle's return to Alabama, and then ultimately this temporary custody order that was obtained in her absence.
Oh, wow.
And she says she was shut out of all communication.
Oh, my gosh.
So it really suggests that there was a deliberate effort to isolate her from her daughter.
It really does sound like that. And it's important to keep in mind that, we're looking at this from Bethany's perspective.
Right, of course.
A court of law would, of course, need to consider our sides.
Right.
But I think her experience really highlights this crucial issue, which is the potential for abuse within the family court system.
Right.
These false allegations, the procedural inconsistencies, the complexities of interstate custody disputes.
Yeah.
They can create this legal labyrinth that's just incredibly difficult to navigate.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially for someone without adequate legal representation.
Yeah, and then you bring in law enforcement.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
And it gets really complicated. So there's this incident on November 14th, 2022.
Okay.
Bethany describes police officers in Ginn, Alabama, removing Brielle from her care. And they were allegedly in communication with Travis and his attorney.
During this?
Yeah, and she says it wasn't, a quiet handover or anything. She talks about her daughter clinging to her.
Oh, my God.
Her other daughters protesting.
Wow.
It was a scene of just chaos and distress.
That's just awful. That's awful. And this incident really, raises these critical questions about what is the role of law enforcement and in these custody disputes, especially when you have these out-of-state orders. While police officers, they are obligated to enforce court orders, their actions should always prioritize the well-being of the child.
Of course.
So you have to ask, in Bethany's case, were the officers adequately informed about what was going on?
Yeah.
Did they, really assess the situation properly before they removed this child who was very clearly distressed?
Right. And what about the impact on the other children?
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Brielle's sisters, Ava and Deja, Bethany talks about how they witnessed their sister being taken away by police.
Oh, wow.
And the fear and the confusion that they felt, the helplessness.
That's got to be so traumatic.
Bethany describes their lingering anxieties, the emotional toll that this has taken on their young lives.
Yeah.
And it just raises this question of are we really considering the voices and the emotional well-being of the children?
Right. Are we really putting them first?
In these really difficult custody battles.
It's so heartbreaking. We often get so caught up in the legal part of it all, but we forget that these are real families with real children whose lives are just totally turned upside down by these, decisions that adults are making, or in some cases not making.
Right. And then, Bethany's story takes another turn when she describes Brielle's behavior after visits with her father.
Okay.
She talks about shiny discomfort with her own body withdrawal. And these weren't things that she had noticed before.
That's really concerning.
Yeah. And while, it does need further investigation,
Right.
it raises
Oh,
concerns
no.
about potential parental alienation.
And that's a serious issue. Parental alienation is a form of emotional abuse.
Right.
That can have really long-lasting consequences for a
Oh,
child.
now I
Yeah.
can't
You know,
hear
it
no more.
impacts their emotional and psychological development. And it's when one parent intentionally manipulates a child's perception of the other parent,
Right.
and often with the goal of damaging that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So, while we don't want to jump to conclusions,
I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Bethany's observations really do warrant careful consideration.
Yeah, and that's where the limitations of the legal system become even more apparent.
Right.
Because proving this in court, proving parental alienation, can be incredibly difficult.
Especially when it's this kind of subtle emotional manipulation rather than, some kind of overt abuse.
Right. And Bethany talks about how she later found out about communication between Travis and his attorney and Officer Snow. And it had all been leading up to Brielle's removal.
Wow.
And it's like, if she had had access to that information at the time, it might have really changed things.
That's a good point. It just highlights how important it is to document everything.
Yes.
If you're going through something like this, keep detailed records of everything, emails, text messages, phone calls, any concerning incidents, any changes in your child's behavior.
Right.
That information can be crucial in building a strong case.
Yeah.
And making sure that your child's voice is heard.
That's such a good point. And it must be so hard because you're already going through so much.
Right.
And to have to be thinking about, building this case.
I know.
It's just a lot.
It is, but it's so important.
Right.
And, the other thing is get legal counsel.
Right.
Right away, a qualified attorney who specializes in family law can help you understand your rights, navigate the system, advocate for your child.
Right.
Don't try to go it alone.
No, it's too much.
It's too much.
Yeah, the Bethany story just shows how long and how hard this fight can be.
Yeah.
The fight for your child's safety and well-being.
Yeah.
It's a story of resilience and determination and a mother's unwavering love. But it also brings up these really uncomfortable questions.
Yes, it does.
About, the systems that are supposed to be safeguarding our families and how they can be manipulated or fail the very people they're supposed to be protecting.
Yeah, it's a really tough situation for sure.
So we have a lot more to discuss.
Me too.
But we're going to take a break.
Okay.
And we'll be back in a few minutes.
Sounds good. This case really just underscores how important it is to be aware of parental alienation. It's a form of emotional abuse, and it can have devastating long-term effects on children.
Right.
And it often goes unnoticed.
You're so right. And it's a very complex issue.
Yeah.
Incredibly challenging to prove in court. But, when Bethany's talking about Brielle's behavior after the visits with her father,
right,
it's concerning the shyness, the discomfort with her own body.
Yeah.
The withdrawal
Yeah.
that she hadn't exhibited before.
Right. Those are all red flags.
Yeah.
You really have to pay attention to those little changes in a child's behavior.
Right.
Because they're not always able to articulate what's happening.
Right. Especially if they're being manipulated.
Exactly.
So if a parent suspects that this is happening, what steps can they take? What kind of evidence is going to be compelling in court?
Well, documentation is key,
Okay.
like we were saying before.
Right.
You have to keep very detailed records, visitation schedules, any concerning incidents, changes in the child's behavior.
Right.
All communication with the other parent.
Right.
That's all really important stuff.
So it's like you're building a case.
It is. It's kind of like building a case. Yeah.
But it's sad that, instead of focusing on your child, you have to be thinking about, gathering evidence.
It's a tough situation.
Yeah.
But it's so important because proving this in court can be really, really hard.
Right. Yeah. And then, Bethany's story also highlights the role of law enforcement.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that incident where the officers removed Brielle from her care,
right,
despite her being so visibly upset, it's really concerning.
It is. And police officers are obligated to enforce these court orders.
Right.
But they also have a responsibility to make sure everyone is safe, especially the child.
Right. So how do we find that balance?
Well, I think training is really important.
Okay.
Law enforcement officers need to have really thorough training on domestic violence, child abuse, parental alienation.
Right.
They need to know how to recognize the signs.
Right.
How to assess the situation accurately and understand how manipulation can play into these disputes.
Yeah, because it's not enough to just show up and enforce an order.
Exactly.
You have to understand the context, the potential impact.
It's about the big picture,
Right. And I think there also needs to be better communication.
Oh, absolutely.
Between law enforcement, the courts, child protection agencies.
100%.
So it's like a more holistic approach.
Exactly.
Where everyone's working together. To make sure the child is really being put first.
The child's well-being would be the top priority.
Yeah, the Bethany's case, with the police interaction and then the jail time that she faced.
Right.
It really brings to light how much needs to change. I mean, the emotional toll on her and her daughters.
Oh, it's huge.
It's just immense.
It's just so sad. And it really shows the challenges that so many parents face, especially mothers in the family court system.
Yeah. It's like we need to look beyond the legal stuff and consider the human impact.
Absolutely.
What I find really troubling is that Brielle was so clearly distressed during that police interaction. But the system seemed to care more about enforcing that order than her emotional well-being.
And that speaks to this need for a more nuanced approach, one that takes the child's perspective into account. Enforcing a court order should never come at the expense of a child's well-being.
Absolutely not. So how do we give children a stronger voice in all of this?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
There's no easy answer. But I think one thing we could do is appoint qualified child advocates, guardians ad litem, who can actually represent the child's best interests independently of the parents' legal teams.
Right, so they're not, caught in the middle.
Exactly. It's about shifting the focus away from this adversarial kind of win-lose mentality and towards something that's more child-centered, that prioritizes their well-being.
Yeah, and we can't forget the emotional side of all this.
Of course so.
I mean, what Bethany has been through.
It's heartbreaking.
Separated from her daughter.
Yeah.
Then the jail time.
It's a lot.
It really shows how much these legal battles can affect families.
The fear, the anxiety, the helplessness.
Yeah,
it's a heavy burden.
And Bethany's other daughters, Ava and Deja, they witnessed their sister being taken away.
Yeah.
And now they're living with all this fear and uncertainty.
Of course.
It's just, their family has been torn apart.
Right. And that's why it's so important to provide support and resources for all the children. They need a safe space to deal with their emotions, to understand what's happening, and to have their voices heard.
Yeah, we really have to do better at recognizing and addressing their needs.
Absolutely.
Their well-being should be at the forefront of all of this.
100%. We need to move away from this, adversarial wing-lows thing and be more compassionate.
Right.
Put the child first.
Yeah, Bethany's story is a good reminder that, behind all the legal stuff, there are real people.
Yeah.
Real families.
Real children.
And real children whose lives are deeply affected by all of this.
It's a call to action for all of us to fight for a better system, a more compassionate system, one that actually protects the best interests of the child.
This deep dive into Bethany's story has been really illuminating.
Yeah.
But it's also left us with even more questions.
It always does, when you start digging into these complex social issues.
Right.
But I think by asking these questions, by shining a light on these experiences, we can start to have more meaningful conversations about the systems that are supposed to be protecting our children and figure out how to make them better. Yeah, it really makes you think, what can we do to prevent things like this from happening again?
It does feel like $1 million question.
It is, yeah.
But I think you're right. We have to start by recognizing that the system right now, it just doesn't prioritize the child's emotional well-being.
Right. It's more about following the letter of the law.
The legal process.
Yeah.
So how do we change that? What can we actually do?
Well, one thing we can do is make sure law enforcement officers have better training on things like custody disputes, parental alienation, how to recognize when a child is in distress.
Right.
They need to be able to really assess these situations
Yeah.
with more sensitivity, and the child's safety has to come first.
Yeah. And what about the courts?
Oh, yeah. The courts definitely need to be part of this.
How can we make sure that the judges are equipped to handle these cases?
Well, I think we need judges who specialize in family court.
Okay.
Judges who understand child psychology, parental alienation, all those nuances.
Yeah.
And I think we also need to make sure that child advocates or guardian ad litem are appointed.
Yeah, to represent the child.
To represent the child, exactly.
That feels so important.
It is.
To give them a voice in all of this.
Yeah, because we need to move away from this. It's my way or the highway kind of thing.
Right.
This win-lose mentality. We need to be more collaborative and focus on what's best for the child.
Bethany's story with everything she went through.
Yeah.
The police interaction, the jail time, the emotional toll on everyone.
It's a wake-up call.
It is.
It shows that we really need to do better.
We need to make changes.
Big changes.
We have to protect these children and support families.
Absolutely.
And make sure that justice is actually being served.
Yeah.
Well, this deep dive has been tough.
It has.
Thank you everybody for watching. We're going to go ahead and bring on up today's guest. You were listening to her story. I hope you have some questions for her. And let's go ahead without any further ado, and we'll bring her up to tell her story.
Thank you. Bethany.
Hi.
Bethany, hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. Thank you for being here today. You're very brave, and we appreciate your voice.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Do you just want me to go ahead and get started?
I think so.
Please do.
Don't
Okay,
be nervous.
so
You're doing fine, and we know we heard you talk at the city council the other day, and the story sounds great. You sound great when you talk, so don't be nervous.
okay, so I'm gonna start with the day where I had taken my daughter, and I have 3 little girls, and on April 15th of 23, I drove to Virginia from Alabama, with the absolute intention of getting my daughter, because I had court-ordered custody of her at this point. And all of my attempts to get any type of legal help as far as with law enforcement, CPS, and the court system, it all went unanswered, and it was a fail. And I'm sorry, I do have my youngest with me, and so you'll have to forgive me with her in the background. So I didn't know what else to do except to go and get my daughter. And so I did. And we left. My oldest daughter was with me, and my middle daughter, I got her, and we drove out of state back home towards Alabama. They ended up issuing an Amber Alert, and I was stopped on a bolo in Georgia at gunpoint with me and my 2 daughters. And I had custody orders with me sitting in the passenger seat, and they refused to talk to me. The law enforcement that stopped us with, I don't even know how many were out there. You would have thought that I was a complete terrorist, the way that they stopped us and had so many guns drawn on us. But they refused to look at any of my paperwork or to talk to me or tell me anything that was going on. We sat on the side of the road for several hours detained before they ended up actually taking me in and arresting me. And then they took my 2 daughters, and I had no idea where they were taken to. And that was the last time I saw my girls, my 2 older girls. So it's been over a year, and I haven't had contact with Ava or Brielle.
Wow.
Ava, I have no idea where she is.
That's so sad.
And then Brielle, as far as I know, is with her father in Virginia. I voiced the fact that I had custody several times. My family from Alabama called and spoke with Detective Stewart. She was the one who actually issued the warrant for my arrest.
Wow.
My mother had also spoke to the Commonwealth prosecutor, Jennifer Titter, and also told her that I had court-ordered custody. All of this documentation is actually on file at the Newport News JDR court, and any of the people in authority could have verified this information through the JDR court. However, nobody did. No law enforcement did any verification. This was all from word of mouth.
Wow.
I'm sorry?
Dereliction of duty, I was just saying. I'm sorry I didn't mean to cut you off, but go ahead.
No, it's fine. So nobody went through any proper verification processes. It was all done word of mouth. Every single thing that they did as far as the Amber Alert and the warrant for my arrest was based on word of mouth. Now, during this process, fast forwarding to when I ended up being released from jail, which was on May 29th of the following year, I went down to the circuit court and requested to see my case file. That is when I ended up learning about the probable cause statement, or learning what was on the probable cause statement. I had requested it from my attorneys, and from the court itself. I wrote them a letter while I was incarcerated requesting the probable cause statement. Nobody ever provided this information to me. Nor did I get to see my full discovery. I only got to see bits and pieces of my discovery. So on the probable cause statement, it is a very detailed description of the order that Detective Stewart saw and used to issue the Amber Alert and issue the warrant for my arrest. This order that is described does not exist. When I was convicted, I was actually convicted with a completely different temporary expired custody order. So the order that was used to obtain my arrest is not the same order that they used to convict me. And during this whole entire process.
Wow. Very much unbelievable.
That's so messed up.
This is all documentation that it's public information, for one. It's in my case file. And It's obtainable. It is obtainable to the lawyers, to law enforcement, everyone I've reached out to. I mean, I have reached out to the city manager's office, to the chief of police, which is Chief Drew, to internal affairs, Lieutenant Rogers, Detective Stewart, the Attorney General, the governor. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, to the people that I have reached out to fix this situation, to address this situation.
Well, that's why we have you here today, because if you don't get any justice, at least you'll have a voice.
Absolutely.
And, well, yeah, and I'm going to continue to use it until this situation is resolved.
I can't wait for your little girl to be brought back home to you.
Absolutely.
Me neither. We miss her.
Did you have more you wanted to tell?
So much. The fact that I keep bringing this to the attention to the law enforcement, they refuse to do any investigations. Yes, there is more I want to tell. So I went and I filed for a motion to amend custody of my daughter and a motion to dissolve the protection order, because the protection order was put in place based on the parental kidnapping charge. Okay, so which is based on a fake document. It says that I cannot initiate welfare checks without leave of the court. So I filed for a motion to dissolve the protection order, and I filed for a motion to amend custody, and I filed for a motion to amend the visitation order. Upon doing so, the Commonwealth attorney, Jennifer Titter, is now retaliating against me and is attempting to revoke my probation, to send me to prison to finish my sentence of 4 years because I made those filings, because she says that it is considered indirect contact with the other parties, because I made, within my rights, legal filing at the courthouse. In addition to that, because I cannot initiate welfare checks to see if my child is okay. I can't reach out for any help in regards to her. Because if I do, they can do a probation violation on me. I wrote a letter to the judge requesting an expedited hearing based on the fact of what I cannot initiate welfare checks without leave of the court. I also provided information that my child is being abused, and I have proof to show with videos, her own disclosure of what is happening to her, and pictures to show marks on her body. And I disclosed this all in my letter to the judge, and she responded back declining my request for an expedited hearing. So they are knowledgeable of what my allegations are in regard to the safety of my child, and they are ignoring it. Are you still there?
That is the saddest story I think I've ever heard in my life. Lady J?
I can't believe something like this happens here. I'm so sorry that you and your daughters had to go through this. And you're still going through this. It has not yet been resolved. That's the disgraceful part about this.
Yeah. Well, what did it feel like the moment you realized that your baby's dad's intentions were not what he had told you?
Exactly.
I realized I made a huge mistake. I thought that I was doing the right thing by my child, providing, because regardless, a child is going to want both parents. And she was very excited to know that she had the opportunity to meet her father. And I wanted to do that for her. And he seemed that he was genuine initially with his intentions. And when I found out that that was not the case, I felt as though I failed my daughter. Because
you said they threatened to put you in jail for violation of the contact order if you just tried to find out about your daughter and how she was?
They did that while I was in jail. They have already violated me for that. I was talking because I got extradited from Georgia to Virginia. And so I'm in distress. I am in shock. I have no idea where my girls are, because you have to think, we were stopped at gunpoint in the middle of the night while I'm traveling back home to Alabama.
Oh my God.
We're stopped, there's guns everywhere. They take my girls, and then they take me to jail. I had no idea where my daughters went. And so when I get extradited to Newport News, I express to them everything that is going on. I express all of my concerns for my two older daughters. They violated me for doing that.
Wow. And you did a year in jail? I think that's easy for people to forget. Let's reiterate that she has done a year in jail over all this.
Yes, I received no bond, and I'll tell you something else. So my brother lives in Virginia, and he came to all of my court dates. And at one of my bond hearings, he spoke up and said to the judge, I take full responsibility of my sister. I will make sure that she does everything that is required of the court, and I will make sure she gets to and from any court hearings that she needs to attend. Now, he had to actually go to Alabama and get my youngest daughter and bring her back to Virginia so that he could take care of her because of my incarceration. Well, so my daughter is there at his house along with my nieces and my nephews. The judge said, and this is the most ridiculous thing, the judge said that she would not allow me to go with my brother on bond because she was afraid that I would kidnap the other children and take off to Alabama.
Oh my God.
So she would not let me out of jail.
Because she thought you would kidnap?
I think that kind of goes against your Sixth Amendment.
I just feel like it goes against everything, common sense and everything.
Yeah.
So
how did this experience impact your other children?
Very good question.
My youngest daughter, has separation. She's been diagnosed with separation disorder, and she's been diagnosed with PTSD. My other daughter, I have no idea. I have no idea where she is. And
so
then,
you're parentally alienated from little B.
And my oldest.
And now you're just trying to be heard.
Absolutely.
And today we got you on here, and I'm so glad that you could tell your story. I know that you have a little one to get back to mothering, but we just have a couple more questions. Are you all right with that?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. What evidence do you have that support your claims of legal manipulation of your children's abduction?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Very good. I appreciate that. Thank you. We'll move on.
Okay.
How did the police and the courts respond to your pleas for help?
They didn't listen to her, remember? Yeah, they just steamrolled right over her.
And there was also another state involved, too. So, yeah.
Yeah, they extradited you out of your own state. They stopped you while you were driving, is that right?
She's saying 3 states.
Yeah, there were different states involved.
3 states.
They did stop me in Georgia, but that was me just traveling through Georgia to get to Alabama. Where Alabama is concerned, I lived in Fayette County, Alabama. So Fayette County, Alabama is the one that would have had jurisdiction over me and my daughters.
That's
What Travis Moss ended up doing, because Fayette County would not help him, and he was instructed by the Fayette County police that they could not enforce his temporary out-of-state order, that he would have to actually go to the Fayette County courthouse and speak with a judge to have the order adjudicated. He did not do that. What he then did is went to Marion County and worked with Officer Snow of UN, Alabama, and obtained somehow within a couple of hours something that takes a 30-day process, because I am supposed to have the opportunity to actually contest those proceedings, and I'm supposed to be able to validate whether or not that is a true document or not. I never got the opportunity to do that. So they ended up actually issuing a completely different order and changed the language of the order that was the Virginia order. And they gave my child to him. So even the stuff that they did in Marion County, Alabama was completely illegal as well. And I have all the documentation to prove all of that too, because I filed to just make sure there was a paper trail. I filed everything down there at the courthouse just so to make sure that there is a paper trail of everything.
What message do you have for other mothers who may be facing similar situations?
For one, make sure you document everything. You have to be able to show credibility to what it is that you're saying, because your words are not enough. You have to be able to prove what you're saying. And to never stop, no matter with the threats and the intimidation and the scare tactics that they do, because they do it. Look, they put me in jail. They're retaliating against me now because I'm exercising my rights to file for custody and to dissolve a protection order. They're trying to put me in prison for 4 years and to take me away from my youngest daughter that I have custody of right now, because I went and I used my rights and I filed to have motions to amend custody orders. But you can't stop.
JC.
Yes, sir.
We don't want to go too much farther without introducing our co-host today, JC News Now. Thank you for being up here, if anybody's wondering. And I figured you probably have some questions or comments. Am I right?
Yes, sir. You're very correct. First thing off, I'm sorry for what you went through, ma'am. This is horrible.
Oops, we lost JC News Now. I'm not sure. Give him a second. He'll be right back to everybody. Thank you for being here today, JC, but I think his finger slipped, y'all.
It happens.
Back to another question, Lady J.
Oh, let's see here.
We don't want to keep her too much longer. Let's make it a good one. Is there anything else that we or the viewers might be able to do that you think could help you get your little bee back home?
I want as much exposure on this as possible. I would be so grateful and appreciative if people would please share this.
Absolutely.
And for it to get as much light shined on this as possible, because that's how you expose the things in the dark. You shine the light on it. And that's the only way that these things are going to stop, is if we get more people talking about it and raising the awareness. And then maybe that will invoke the power and the strength in other people to speak up about their experiences. And then it's just going to be this beautiful chain reaction of hopefully everybody standing together and speaking out on all of these injustice that is happening to multiple families and multiple children.
Wow. Wow. Your story scares the bejesus out of me. I have a story of my own, and we're going to probably talk about that a little bit later. Lady Justice has another question. JC News Now, he's coming back online, so when he gets up, here he is.
Go ahead and take it away.
Take it away, JC. Hold on, you're muted. I got you.
Okay.
Oops, I muted him.
First thing I want to say, I'm sorry for what you went through, ma'am. This is horrible. This is retaliation at its worst. This is unacceptable. This young lady is trying to do things legally and get her kids back. They were kidnapped. This is just wrong. I'm sick to my stomach over it, and you can bet I'm going to dig. I'm going to start digging. Everything's public. I'm going to find out. I'm not going to say anything without her permission or do anything without her permission, but I'm going to find out about this. This is crap. Imagine the children. Imagine the two little girls that got taken from her mom. This is terrorism. This is domestic terrorism. And them little girls are going to be scarred for life for this, and that's just sad, let alone the mom. Imagine being a mom or a dad and your children are snatched from your life. This cannot stand. This cannot stand. I'm pissed. And ma'am, I'm sorry you went through this. You can reach out to me or Lady Justice or Mr. Amazing anytime. Your driver's done. Sorry. This just can't stand. I'm sick to my stomach over this.
She needs people.
She does.
She needs people. She needs a voice and maybe people to advocate for her, because when you say it yourself, it falls on deaf ears. She needs other people to say this stuff.
Yes, and imagine if she's doing it to her, then if they're doing it to her, they're doing it to others across the nation. And this cannot stand. This is wrong. Imagine what them little girls are going through. Where's my mom? You know?
All right. Well, we want to let her get down off of here, I think, right now. I'm sorry to cut you off. It sounds like it's an important moment to let her go. Did you have any last words you wanted to say before you go? Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you very much.
And of course, welcome to reach out to me, and I am an open book and absolutely willing and able to answer any questions, to have any clarity or give any direction, to be of any assistance with moving forward at all.
Yep. So if you guys know the proper legal counsel and everything for Bethany, let's get in the comments and tell us who can help her out. All right, everybody?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and please give her my phone number.
All right. Okay, so go ahead and talk about it some more, JC. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I could hear her little one, and we don't want to keep her from mothering.
Right, that's good. I just this cannot stand. Something, she needs help. She needs the people backing her, and we need to do everything we can to help her. Have her reach out to me. Have her email me. Give her my phone number. Send smoke signals. I don't care. I want to talk to her, and if all else, just to try to make her feel a little better, you know. But I'm here. I've got every resource I got. I'll help with her in her case. This is wrong, and I appreciate you guys having me on. I've got to go, but I got mad love for both of y'all, and if you need anything from me, holler at me. I love y'all.
We sure appreciate you being here, man.
Thank you, JC. Thank you.
Well, all right, Bethany, we'll let you get back to your mothering, and we're going to tell our own stories of parental alienation. If you want to leave the studio, it'll be fine to watch us and comment from inside YouTube. And you'll find us over on Lady Justice's channel. I'll drop you a link.
Thank you again for being aboard today.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks for letting me share my story, guys. I appreciate it.
We love hearing it. Thank you for sharing it. Adios. So, Lady Justice, there were some very sad elements of parental alienation with this case with Bethany, and we wanted to hear everything that you had to. What was your take on the whole case? And then afterwards, would you share your alienation story with the audience, please?
Well, I think the very sad thing is how one parent was able to sneak in one state, which is a whole nother state than where the child lives, to obtain his guardianship of the child. And I don't think that that's the way it should have been handled. And I think Bethany's got she's got her work cut out for sure.
Yeah, that's why it takes support from a group like ours. We had to get our voice out there.
Absolutely.
I don't know if many of you guys, let's do our ads too right now, because this is a good time to do that. I don't know if you guys know in the audience watching, but you could read Bethany's story over on Copwatch Chronicles. Her testimony was uploaded to Copwatch Chronicle newsletter, which you can get in your email inbox every week. We will have a testimonial or two, or maybe more, depending on how many come into my inbox. That being said, I'm going to drop a link, and you can find my Copwatch Chronicle over on Beehive. And I did notice if you search Copwatch Chronicle, it's the very first thing that comes up on Google. So check it out, and I'll drop a link. Lady J, you have some things going on too, right? Like some memberships and other perks?
Yeah, I've got memberships. I've got super thanks and super chats also available if viewers are so inclined to make a purchase. We also have the police record. I like to give them a plug out there, thepolicerecord.com/invite/LJLP. That will get you some pretty good discountage over there at thepolicerecord.com.
What about that fancy gear you got on? I think everybody probably noticed that you have a really fancy brim hat on.
Oh, yeah.
Is that available?
This is out of my clothing store. You guys can click on over there and get yourself one too if you're so inclined, or look at the jackets, or they've got some slippers over there, or some beachcomb wear.
Also today on this live stream, we have the memberships, we have the super thanks, the super chats are enabled. Today for super chats over $5, we will answer your question on the show. So get on over there and get a super chat. Also, you can gift the membership. So this is a very fancy feature I used to love from like DLive, and other platforms, and they got it on YouTube now. Last week, somebody gifted 5 memberships to the audience. So
Yay!
Thank you, Trendency, for doing that.
Thank you,
and
Trendency.
we want to also give special love to all of those new members. So
absolutely.
Say something special to them, Lady J, about what they can expect and how happy you are to have them on board.
I am so very happy and pleased that you all are on board. I want to shout out Sam. Hey. Thank you so very kindly, Sam, for climbing aboard. We've got, how do you pronounce that? K-Eon NYC. Yeah, K-Eon NYC. Thank you for climbing aboard with Lady Justice, Liberty Press. We have Lori Van Hoosier. Hey. Thank you for climbing aboard. We've got Joe Co. KS Copwatch, also aboard with Lady Justice, Liberty Press. And Linda's Diamonds. Hey. Thank you for being a channel member, each and every one of you.
That's right. So what do we do when, or you were going to share with us now the rest of your comments about her case. Sorry, and we needed to get those ads out there right now because you got to make money, right, honey?
There you go. That's okay. Right. That's right.
Well, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to cut the cam and you just relax and talk to the viewers. Tell them what you thought of the story that we interviewed today, and then we will listen and ask some questions about your story.
Well, it's really sad. I really think that it's really pretty crappy, and I'm not going to pull any punches or very many. I think it's crappy that you're trying to do the very best for your child with your child's best interest at heart. And you share your child with what you think is going to be their father, and the next thing you know, they've got custody of your child. And you know, was a new relationship for this child as well. So it's not like
scary.
It's not like this child lived her whole 6 or 7 years, however long it was.
It was like 7 years, 6, 7 years, yeah.
Yeah, knowing her father, being in contact with her father, this was a new relationship. So how very frightening, how very scary for that child. And I'm trying to look from that child's perspective, you know. Wow. She's now amongst strangers, basically. Her father and all of his friends and family, whoever he knows, you know, that's got to be very scary. And I really can't help but feel the justice system let her down.
Poor little bee.
Let mama down too, but really let this innocent child down. And now she's showing signs of being abused, possibly, allegedly. Maybe, perhaps. This is really heartbreaking. Really heartbreaking. And I am so sorry that this should never happen.
She was taken to jail. Oh my gosh, she did time. She was driving down the road and she had her child taken from her mid-journey. Isn't that amazing? I mean,
this is really traumatizing, and it's traumatizing to the other children as well. You know, they're toddlers, they're young, and they're wondering why mom's leaving their sister behind.
Yeah, could you imagine answering those questions? And they couldn't even understand the answers, I'm sure.
Well, yes, because they're still infants. I mean, they're toddlers, you know. And how scary for them as well. Is mom going to be leaving us behind too? I mean, what kind of thoughts go through kids' minds, you know?
What were you thinking as she was telling her story? I mean, here we have the face of a woman that is the mother fighting for her child. The daughter was abducted, allegedly by the father. That's to be determined, I guess. It was, and with the help of the corrupt legal system. What were you thinking when you were hearing her describe all this?
I really could not fathom that this sort of stuff happens in America or anywhere civilized. It just should not happen, ever. And the fact that it did happen has really got me scratching my head and questioning because we've got so many checks and balances in place in our society, in the way things are supposed to be.
Yeah, you would never think something like this could even possibly happen. It's so concerning that the court systems didn't. I know in my case, they stopped for like 2 weeks, I think, didn't they, to figure out who had jurisdiction here before they even tried to make a determination. It's so hard to believe that you could just be, difficult. It's concerning for me. It terrifies me to think that someone could use your mother's address and then say that they gave you the paperwork, do it in another county or another state somewhere far away, and you have no idea it's even happening, and then it's ruled on without your presence. I could definitely relate to that.
I think when folks use the court system in this way, they really should be handled and dealt with appropriately. This is very much like, in my opinion, and please, you guys, drop your comments and let me know what you think about this. But in my opinion, it's very much like reporting crimes that really haven't happened, fraudulent reports. When you start using the court system to manipulate and to get your way, basically,
So Rights Camera Action, thank you for being here. We have your comment up on the screen. He says Carl Lentz, that's the person. Carl Lentz could help. He's the best by invoking common law. You can get your kids back ASAP. So that's the type of connections and networking that we wanted to get done. Sorry,
that's absolutely correct. Thank you so very, very much, Rights Camera Action. I love it.
That's right.
Bethany, please, we're going to get you guys kind of connected.
Yeah, for any audience, let us know, and let us know you've seen that, all right? The other thing is, stay tuned, everybody. Share the link and everything. I just got in touch with some of our parental alienation experts. They may be coming on board to give us a lesson on what parental alienation is and give their testimony and how it feels to be a victim of parental alienation. That all may be here yet to come in this episode, so stay tuned. Lady J, did you have more to say about the Bethany case?
I really don't at this time, but I really don't want us to forget her case or cases like hers. I'm just thinking, if this happened to her, it could happen to anyone.
It's like, what happens when a mother's trust is betrayed and the legal system fails to protect her child, though?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, how can a father use the courts like this to manipulate and abduct his own child and keep her separated from her siblings, her household that she's used to, the life that she knows, the only human beings that she's known to be related to or exist that are related to her? How can a father do that? Allegedly.
Yes, it is kind of disgraceful, in my humble 1A opinion.
is
that any parent could do that.
I would like to hear his side, though. I do want to leave it
Absolutely.
out there. If there is, if you're out there and you want to talk about what happened, we can try to be objective here.
Absolutely.
And make sure that your side is also known to everybody as well. We want to know, for the best interest also of little B, what made the father think it was necessary to take these types of actions. So I wish I could have him here right now. We didn't know where to reach out to, but we're just putting it out there that these are allegations. Some have been can be verified. Some have been verified. Many have not been verified. So just remember, also the names have been changed for safety, and then that's what we wanted to say about that. We're trying to be objective in this discussion of this case and these elements.
I was just going to say, and some of the things are left to still yet be determined, because there are still court decisions that are taking place now. So
we do have a couple of comments. Do you want to read those before you tell your story? Or, you know what, let's go ahead and tell your story. You have had offspring or prodigy of your own that you are alienated from, isn't that correct?
well, I haven't seen certain members of my family for going on about 3.5, 4 years now, which saddens me, because it's much bigger than it might appear on the surface. So yes, and it's very hurtful, especially when you really haven't done anything that measures the magnitude of living without certain people in your family, you know.
Please tell us what happened. How did this occur? What do you want to share those facts more with us? And
Well,
be strong, but it's okay if you get emotional. We're all here for you. You got your Liberty fam right by your side, okay?
well, thank you very much. In my particular case, I was extremely young when I must clarify, I was extremely young when I started having children and got married and everything, but so I was a young grandmother. And I'm still pretty young, actually. But this pertains to my grandchildren. I have not seen my grandkids for about 3.5, 4 years now. And it is very saddening. It really is. And basically, it's because I decided to travel, enjoy some of my life. I was an empty nester. You know, my kids were raised. So traveling seemed like the next best thing to do, and I still don't regret that decision. I don't.
Well, I'm glad you don't, because many of us are super glad to have met you along the way, including myself, and we couldn't have been here today, probably, if you hadn't made that choice. So it's good to have you here, and thank you for every part of your words. Meant so much to us.
Well,
I'm so sad to hear that. How long has it been since you've seen your alienated family members?
about 3.5, 4 years now. It's been a minute. And I do want to shout out my grandkids.
Do that.
Roven, hey, I love you.
You
I've got
have something to say to your Roven or your other alienated family members if they were able to be watching right now, and
but yeah, I do. I just want to say,
let them know how you feel about it.
thank you. I'm going to shout out Roven and Lily. I'm going to shout out Xana and Ryan, Ashlyn and Caden.
Oh, pretty names.
Thank you. I love each and every one of you guys, and I miss you all. I miss Rachel and Amanda. And I'll even shout out Cody as well, though I do speak to Cody and see him often. But anyway, I just want to shout out all those folks and let you know I think about you often. And I think I'm good.
Okay, well, I also have been alienated from my child. Many people have mixed feelings about the whole thing, but basically, it was COVID when I was separated from my alienated loved one, my little son. We'll call him Adonis. Adonis was taken from me. I was separated from him at the onset of COVID, and I wasn't in a position to fight a fight. Later on, before I was fully ready to take on a fight like this, which I don't think you ever are, because it's just going to eat up any money, resources, or time that I have. I would have to try. I just can't afford it right now, and I don't know that anyone ever can. I hear a lot of stories where they spend all their money on life savings, but it still doesn't get them anywhere. That being said, it's been, I've seen him once or twice along the way, and in the meantime, he's been left abandoned by his mother with church members, and it's sort of similar to Bethany's case, I feel like, where he didn't know the people that he now has to live with, and I'm estranged from him in a way that I'm not able to find out what's happening to him on a daily basis or talk to him until more legal paperwork and decisions are made in court. It's unfortunate, but the courts wouldn't let me appear virtually, and I couldn't afford to travel state to state like that, back and forth. The judge didn't make a decision when I was there. He was afraid to make a decision when the father was there in court, when I did come for the hearing. So, that being said, I have not been even able or allowed to check with my son's doctor, psychiatrist, school. These are things that I haven't lost the rights to. My parental rights have not been terminated. I'm just in an ongoing court custody case now with somebody that's not even a family member, who decided that it was appropriate to take away the child. I guess that she initially thought was abandoned, but after I brought myself into the picture and made everyone aware that I was an available, loving parent, she still fought me for custody for no freaking reason whatsoever.
Yes, it was really ridiculous.
And, she just took my child away.
It's very hard. It's hard for him to get his son back, because now we're dealing with state to state, and it's another state that you're not living in, and the child is living in, and it's really ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Thank you for being here, Gio. We got you in here. I see you.
Yes, Gio.
It's very crushing to be alienated from a loved one, especially I did actually have a situation where I'm with my loved one 1 second and we're thinking everything's just hunky-dory, and then the next second we are being ripped apart.
Yeah.
Circumstances demanded that we not be by each other, and that's really sad, and it's crushing. It's soul crushing. It makes you feel like there's really no when it's your kid, I feel like there's just no reason to go on. You had no purpose left. Now somebody else took all my purpose for being, and I hope they're doing a good job.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What are your feelings as a grandmother, and it's not your immediate child, but...
Well, you know, from the state I hail from originally, there are such things as grandparent rights. And I don't know, I think grandparents should have some rights, especially if the kids have been around, the grandkids have always been around you since day one, and you see them every day, literally. Yeah, it is pretty hard. It is pretty hard.
We will be following up on these stories, continuing to provide updates on Bethany's case,
Absolutely.
my case, Lady J's case, in the future newsletters on Copwatch Chronicle, here on Lady Justice's channel, and other social media posts. That way the audience can stay engaged and updated about this and provide any kind of support that they'd like to along the way. We encourage all of you to share the story, donate, contact authorities maybe on about the case that you heard about today, and I don't know, get with Bethany. Let's do a social media blitz. Everybody tell this story across all your social media channels using relevant hashtags.
That's right. And share, you guys, all over social media.
If you haven't heard about Copwatch Chronicle, that's where you can give your police testimonial, tell your feelings, your side of the story, and be heard. Even when you get to take the stand in court, you don't necessarily
get to tell your whole story, your whole truth.
You'll be restrained from talking about certain things.
That's right.
The jury will only get to see the evidence that you're capable of lawyerly, like, building a foundation for. So
yeah, and some of that stuff's harder to get aboard than you think.
Right, it was a challenge, wasn't it?
It was a huge challenge. Yepper.
Well, I wanted to ask you
laughing.
something else too. You've been separated from your children too, right? Some of your children, your immediate
Yes.
children. So, is it still parental alienation when the child grows up and they aren't speaking with the parent? Like,
Well, it
isn't
really
that
is.
parental alienation too?
It really is. They're just being more adult about it and saying, I don't want to talk to you. Which the whole reasons are really quite silly. Very silly. Because I decided to travel and enjoy some life while I'm still able. Wow. And that's what it really boils down to.
Oh yeah, Gio has a comment here, and I don't know, I guess not everybody's updated, but I haven't been homeless for over 2 years now. I'm on my way to trying to be that success story. You guys were going to tag along with me all the way till I was speaking in Washington about the need for helping homeless people get up off the streets and providing money for those causes and not ignoring those causes. I'll be there soon. I'm probably right on track, man. Actually, when you think about it, it ain't been but a few years since I started on my journey. We're not to the 5-year mark yet, and I think here in the next year or two, if I can get off of these assistances, then I think I would be a good success story to show people in Washington why the need is a good thing to do, why there's fruit that comes from it, and people will put the money towards the right stuff. And I hope I've made you guys all proud along the way. It was a tough journey. I have a lot of moments that take away my peace. I have to look back on from when I was homeless. But at this time, I got a really lovely place, and I'm in a safe neighborhood.
A very safe neighborhood, much better than the last neighborhood.
Yeah, we're not in Capitol Hill, Denver, which was fun. I did enjoy doing my volunteer and outreach in the Capitol Hill area, but
I even enjoyed watching some
Where
of
did you
one of the
The machete fights.
The machete fights, on guard there.
They fight each other with big knives and bars and stuff in Capitol Hill, I guess.
Yeah.
They'll chuck it right through your windshield if you test them. So be careful when you're around out there, everybody. Be safe. We love you. The PA experts just informed me that we don't really do PA on holidays and during the week because everybody's got family and stuff going on. So today was probably the worst day to schedule this for the PA panel.
We did not realize it was a holiday today. It's President's Day, so happy presidenting, I guess, everyone.
And that being said, we'd love to see you over on the Copwatch Chronicle. And if you guys want to talk one-on-one, you can call for a small fee and you can speak with a member of the Copwatch Chronicle editorial staff at 720-807-2660. So
what was that number again?
720-807-2660. So if you are somebody that wants to consult about a newsletter, or maybe you have some concerns before you start cop watching, or you just want to chat about something, there's the number for y'all.
Absolutely fabulous.
We're going to let you guys go. I appreciate y'all being here. It's been over an hour, and I think we dissected the story, got a good look at it, an introductory look at least.
We will be updating you, though, in the future with Bethany's story because it's still ongoing. So, Bethany, I hope you will please come back.
That's right. And that being said, y'all have a good day and a good night. Till we see you next time. Boop, 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 boop,
We're going to dive deep into a very complicated custody. Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. Today, we're going to try to, we're going to dive deep into a very complicated custody case, Bethany Gould's story. And, our listeners have sent over a bunch of articles and different research, so we have a lot to cover.
Yeah, we do.
But I guess let's just get started with what we have.
Well, I think one of the things that really struck me right away is just the emotional weight of this story.
Yeah.
It's we're talking about a mother separated from her child,
right.
Accusations of abduction, and this, really unsettling possibility that the system that's designed to protect families is being manipulated against them.
Yeah, and that powerlessness really comes through. I mean, in Bethany's account, she talks about how she just wanted to do something very simple.
Right.
In 2019, she decided to pursue child support from Brielle's biological father, Travis Moss.
Okay.
Just to ensure financial stability for her daughter. And she even mentions her willingness to co-parent and facilitate positive interactions between Brielle and Travis.
And that's, what makes everything that happened after that just seem so much more jarring.
Yeah.
Because according to Travis, after a period of what seemed like amicable interactions,
Right.
filed for custody of Brielle in Virginia.
Right.
But Bethany and the children were living in Alabama.
Right. So it's a jurisdictional.
It's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
And it immediately begs the question, like, was this a genuine attempt at co-parenting, or was this some sort of calculated move to exploit these legal loopholes?
Yeah, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, really. If what Bethany's saying is true, it paints a very disturbing picture. She talks about a false protection order that was filed against her, delaying Brielle's return to Alabama, and then ultimately this temporary custody order that was obtained in her absence.
Oh, wow.
And she says she was shut out of all communication.
Oh, my gosh.
So it really